Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I apologize for the break in between videos, but I've been having some dental work done and I've been getting used to talking with the temporary work that I have until I get a better solution. So I apologize if it's tough to understand some of the things I'm saying. Um, Also, shout out to my girls, sent me this wonderful t-shirt as a gift. So it was great to get this from them. That I'm going to do just sort of a walk around of this saw. The saw that I purchased is a G0771Z. That's the model of the Grizzly saw. And I also bought a mobile base with it. I'll give you that number when I shoot the manual. But it's a decent saw. It's got a lot of potential, and it just seems like they were almost there and they just kind of dropped the ball on a few things. So let's go over and take a look at it, and I'll show you some of the things I've found and give you some information, and then you can decide if it's something you'd like to buy. But I think they're good things to know before you get into it. So let's take a look. Okay, so here is the saw, and let's get a shot of as I said, it's the G0771Z. It's got a cabinet base. It's got a very attractive looking rail and fence system. So the saw is the 10-inch hybrid table saw. And the base that I got for it there's the base, and what you can see with the base is that it's got these levers here and feet. So if I push that down, it lifts it up onto those legs so that the whole saw is supported on legs while you're using it. Makes it pretty stable. I like that. Miter gauge, metal miter gauge. Seems decently made. It's a little loud when it slides. I think it's from the milling in the channel. We've got the throat plate. You can see that with the throat plate there are these set screws for adjustment in the height. There's a magnet right here that's supposed to hold the front down. We'll talk about that. This is the fence, and you can see it's got T-slots in it. Those T-slots hold bolts that will hold fixtures like this. These are little rollers. They're spring-loaded, and that's to hold the work down. These things also mount into the channel, so they work as a feather board to push it against the fence. Here is see if I can get it without glare. So you can see that this scale is going down to 30/2 of an inch, which is ironic because this scale could not be much less accurate. So I'm going to set up the tripod and we'll take a look at this, and I'll talk you through some of the... So let's take a look at this saw. Starting at the base, I like the base. The casters are solid metal hubs with nylon covering on them, so they're quiet, but they roll pretty nicely, and they seem like they'll hold a considerable amount of weight. I think this was rated for 1,200 pounds. It's a heavy duty, it's adjustable. You can move these bolts and change the size of this to fit different machines, and that one's loose, it's not supposed to be. So I may have to tighten some of those. But I like the base so far. The stand, I like this scale. Big handles for adjusting, raising and lowering the blade. Seems to operate pretty smoothly. That's for the tilt. I'm not going to change that right now. When I checked the top for flatness, initially when I put these two wings on, I had them swapped. when it was lined up here and lined up here, this wing was slightly lower than this. This wing over here was slightly higher in the center when the front and the back were good. That tells me that something is not perfectly flat, or they would be interchangeable. So I swapped them. They feel much better now, but I know that they're not perfectly true. With a straight edge down here and a feeler gauge, I'm getting in one spot, I think, 0.006 of an inch of gap. It is not perfect. I do believe that this is enough of an accurate top for me to get accurate results from what I'm doing. So the top is not a deal breaker for this saw. I have checked the blade for parallel to these channels, and it is almost dead on. It's not worth trying to adjust. I don't think I could get it any more accurate than it is. The throat plate. It has 5 screws for adjustment for height. It has a hook in the back. That's supposed to hook under here, and a magnet in the front to hold it down. The problem is, when I take a straight edge and I adjust these screws so that this plate is flush with the tabletop, it sits above the magnet here, and the magnet doesn't hold it down very well. So it just kind of hangs, and it's right now, things go under it. I don't like that. That's not very safe. It should have a better hold down at the front, either a stronger magnet or a catch that you can turn with a screwdriver, like some other saws have, where it engages and hooks and won't allow that to come up. Then we get into the fence. Now, I was going to show you this on camera, but it's really hard to pick up these lines. They've made this fence, they put a scale on it that is divided into 30/2 of an inch, which implies accuracy. When I check this scale and check over the first 12 inches, this scale is inaccurate more than a 1/16 of an inch in 1 foot. That means by the time I get out here, this fence is 3/16 different than the number that it says. So if I'm trying to use this scale to set widths of panels, I'm incorrect by 3/16 of an inch. That is massive. That's unacceptable. They have been making these for a long time. And if you're going to manufacture this saw, all it takes is this. Nope, it's not right. Do it again. Before you manufacture this and sell thousands of them. This is junk. I will be peeling this off and putting an aftermarket scale on that's accurate, that works for this saw. The problem I have is I spent a lot of money, wasted a lot of time waiting for this, taking a day off work for delivery to get it, to find it, put it together, find out it's junk, and send it back is another massive waste of time for me. And this is an opportunity for me to explain what this channel is about and what I do, which is problem solving. How do I take this saw? Do I package it back up and send it back? If I'm an average person and I don't have the knowledge or the skills to fix it, then yes, it has to go back. For myself, I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to show you how I'm doing it so that you can see maybe approaches to fixing some problems you encounter. It's not necessarily advice to buy this saw and do what I'm doing. So, one thing I can fix is changing the scale. That's something I can purchase. I can get an adhesive scale to stick down to this, and I can fix that. So that's manageable. The biggest problem I have with this saw is this fence. This fence has T-slots to hold this, like I mentioned. However, in order for that to work, this fence has to be very stable, and it can't move around. And the problem with the design of this fence is that the only thing it has in the back, hopefully you can see this, is that bearing under there. That bearing is to rest on. It does not prevent uplift. So when I set this saw, I slide the fence over and lock it down, I can pick it up in the back. That means this is basically useless. So you've gone through all the trouble to have a T-slot in here, and now it won't hold the work down. So I'm not a fan of that. Also, it gives very detailed instructions in the manual on how to check this for squareness and how to adjust it, because these two screws here adjust these little knobs here, and that will roll this fence to square it up to the tabletop. That's a good feature. The problem is, if I place the fence in the center of the table, and I put that square, this is a very accurate square. That is tight, that is perfectly square. This side, I can lift it up. And that's a 64th out of square. It's a considerable amount. And then what I noticed was when I put the square back here, it's moving, it's lifting up and it's rolling where this one doesn't. What that means is either the top or this fence, most likely the fence, is twisted. So now I can't get this fence to be square to the top, no matter what I do. Because if I fix this, this isn't correct. Even if this side were flat, I checked the width of these, and this is 3.14, and when I measure the bottom, it's 3.16. So that means that the cross section of this fence is tapered in at the top. That means it can't be squared up. The fence also has play while it's locked down side to side. So if I'm pushing a board through and I'm pushing against this fence, as I get to the end, more pressure is going to want to push that over. That'll actually create a curved cut. So this fence has really taken away from the whole value of this saw. This saw was about $1,400, about $140 for the mobile cart, and a couple hundred in delivery. I think it was about $1,700 and change. And it's just not what I want it to be at all. This I can fix. I told you I'll probably add a hook that I'll have to drill down in here, countersink that, find a fastener, make a hook that goes under there. I will change the scale, and as far as this fence goes, I have an idea in my head of how to add a mechanism back here that I can engage from the front, just like this handle, that will lock that down. And the one argument is that you want to be able to, when you lock this down, you want this to align square first and be square to the table and parallel to the blade before the back engages. I think I can do that. So that's something I might do to fix this saw. If you're looking at buying this saw, you have to expect that there's going to be some deflection in this fence. It is not perfectly square. The T-slots are handy, but rendered a little bit less useful by the movement of the fence. And the scale, just ignore it because it's not even worth it. That will just ruin your day. So based on that, you guys kind of have to make your own decision. Okay, so that's a breakdown on that saw. Like I say, I'm disappointed. I think it's fixable. As it is, maybe it's a way for us to explore how to do some problem solving, how to overcome some of the hurdles that get in the way of us as we're trying to build things. And again, that's the art of building. So I hope to see you again next time, and don't be afraid to do what the shirt says. Take care.